Frederick, Colorado, August 13th, 2018. A concerned friend calls 911. Shanann Watts, 15 weeks pregnant, hasn't answered her phone. Her two little girls, Bella and Celeste, haven't been seen. The doors are locked. Nobody's home. Within hours, a husband would stand before cameras, begging for his family's return. Within days, the truth would emerge, a truth so dark, so calculated, that it would shock the nation and become one of the most disturbing family annihilation cases in modern history. This is the Chris Watts case, and nothing about this family was perfect. Chris Watts was 33. Shanann was 34. They had two daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste. To the outside world, they were living the American dream in their 2-story home in Frederick, a quiet town outside Denver. Shanann was vibrant, outgoing, constantly posting on social media about her family, her work with a health marketing company, and her excitement about their third baby, a boy they planned to name Nico. Chris appeared to be the devoted husband and father, quiet, reserved, always smiling in family photos. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. Financial pressure, credit card debt, medical bills. And Chris, he was living a double life. In June 2018, Chris began an affair with a coworker named Nichol Kessinger. He told her he was separated, nearly divorced. He wasn't. His wife was pregnant. His daughters adored him. But to Nichol, he painted himself as a man ready to start fresh. Friends noticed changes. Chris started working out obsessively. He became distant, cold. He stopped wearing his wedding ring. He deleted text messages. He lied constantly. Shanann sensed it. She confronted him. She tried couples therapy. She sent him heartbreaking texts, begging him to fight for their marriage. He responded with silence. And then she went on a work trip to Arizona. August 13th, 2018, 1:48 a.m. Shanann returned home from her trip. A friend dropped her off. Doorbell camera captured her walking into the house, suitcase in hand, exhausted but hopeful. She wanted to fix things. She wanted to save her family. She would never leave that house alive. Sometime in the early morning hours, Chris strangled Shanann in their bedroom. She fought. The autopsy would later show defensive wounds, but Chris was stronger, and he was determined. And then his daughters woke up. Bella, only 4 years old, asked, "What's wrong with Mommy?" What Chris did next is almost impossible to comprehend. He loaded Shanann's body into the back of his work truck. Then he put Bella and Celeste, alive, confused, scared, into the back seat, and he drove 45 minutes to a remote oil site owned by his employer, Anadarko Petroleum. When they arrived, Chris killed Celeste first. He smothered her. Then he turned to Bella. Bella fought back. She begged. The autopsy would later show she bit her tongue so hard it bled. She had scratches, bruises, evidence of a child fighting for her life. He smothered her, too. He buried Shanann in a shallow grave, barely covered with dirt. He stuffed Bella and Celeste's small bodies into separate oil tanks, spaces so narrow, so dark, that recovery teams later said it was one of the most horrific scenes they'd ever witnessed. Then Chris Watts went to work. He texted his coworker. He acted normal. He smiled. And when Shanann's friend called him hours later, panicked because Shanann wasn't answering, Chris said, "I don't know where they are." Chris reported his family missing. Police arrived. He gave them a tour of the house. Everything seemed normal, too normal. Shanann's phone was on the counter. Her purse was there. Her medication. She never went anywhere without it, untouched. The beds were made. The girls' shoes were still by the door. Chris stood in front of news cameras and delivered one of the most chilling performances in true crime history. "Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. I just want you back." But he wasn't crying. He was smiling, nervously. His arms were crossed. His voice was flat. He kept looking away. Body language experts would later call it a textbook example of deception. A neighbor showed police his security footage. It captured Chris's truck backing into the garage at 5:27 a.m. The garage door closed. For minutes, Chris was loading something. Then he drove away. Chris claimed he was loading tools for work, but the investigators knew. They'd seen this before. The timeline didn't add up. Shanann's phone data, his GPS, the truck's movements, it all pointed to one conclusion. Chris Watts was lying. Detectives sat him down. They were calm but firm. "Chris, we know you're not telling us the truth." They gave him a polygraph. He failed, miserably. "There's no way you passed that test, Chris, so why don't you tell us what really happened?" Chris broke, but even then, he lied. He claimed Shanann killed the girls after he told her he wanted a separation. He said he saw her strangling Celeste on the baby monitor, and when he ran upstairs, Bella was already dead. He said he freaked out and killed Shanann in a rage. It was a calculated lie designed to paint himself as a grieving father pushed too far. But the evidence destroyed that story instantly. Shanann's autopsy showed she was killed first. The girls were alive when they left the house. Neighbors' security footage confirmed it. Bella's injuries proved she was conscious, terrified, and fighting for her life when Chris killed her. Finally, Chris admitted the truth. He killed Shanann because he wanted to be free. He killed Bella and Celeste because they were in the way of his new life with Nichol Kessinger. No rage, no snap decision, just cold, calculated murder. On November 19, 2018, Chris Watts pled guilty to 9 counts, including 3 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 48 years for killing his unborn son Nico and 36 years for unlawful termination of a pregnancy and tampering with the bodies. He currently sits in Dodge Correctional Institution in Waupun, Wisconsin, in protective custody. He spends 23 hours a day in his cell. He receives letters from people around the world, some hate mail, some disturbingly from admirers. Shanann's family released a statement. "We forgive Chris, but we will never forget what he took from us." The Chris Watts case became a cultural flashpoint. It forced us to confront uncomfortable questions. How well do we really know the people we love? What happens when someone decides a new life is worth more than the ones they've created? And perhaps most haunting, Bella's last words to her father were, "Daddy, no." She knew. She trusted him. And he killed her anyway. This is the Chris Watts case, a reminder that evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it smiles for the camera, says, "I love you," and destroys everything in silence.